Unconditional love. No words shake my soul as much as unconditional love. I was told that God is light, but to me, that was just an explanation. I wasn't moved by it. But when I was told that God is unconditional love, I felt that this was the goal I was aiming for. People aim for this peak, and they experience love. Lovers lead people to the peak of their emotions. They feel the exhilaration of their souls and experience the wonder of love. However, the peak of their emotions inevitably cools down like an undertow. What does it mean that love has an end? Love is supposed to be eternal. So what is it that makes love seem to cool down? When I see my lover no longer thrilling me, I wonder if I've grown tired of him, if this is a period of boredom. I feel that realizing this was one of the major themes of my life this time. It is a barrier that must be passed in order to appreciate unconditional love. The love you feel when your lover appears is conditional love. That love will disappear when your lover is gone. By meeting and loving someone else, you will first come into contact with the deep love inside you and realize your own great love. You will eventually be able to feel the great and abundant affection that you feel deep inside of you. Every time you love someone, even when no one is around, you fall in love because they gave you a gift. You are interested in them because they are a great person, or you will be evaluated highly if you do something. Conditional love is exactly three-dimensional love. In this bipolar world, there is always the opposite. If you fall in love because you received something, you will dislike them when you can no longer receive it. In this bipolar world of ups and downs and fluctuations, you will always reach the opposite pole, and your emotions will fluctuate as you fall in love and dislike. Even if no one is around, you are originally love itself. Unconditional love is originally you, and you don't need a lover for that. You, who are love itself, don't need others to feel love. Other people only exist to remind you of this, to make you aware of it. Other people are merely a trigger to regain the immense love within. The game of life helps us to remember this. When you remember this and live as unconditional love itself, you may no longer need a physical body. No, there is no need to lament that you can't live that way. You are originally like that, and now you are simply in the middle of the game, challenging yourself with a difficult game. So, there is no need to be in such a hurry to finish the advanced physical game. You have entered the game center called Earth. There is no need to rush to leave. Just play like a child until you get tired of playing. We notice love when there are other people. We notice the love that was originally inside us, in the reflection of other people, wanting to experience again the elation of the love that had cooled down. We seek a new thrill in another person. The love with the person we thought was absolute will also eventually cool down. Because love is not outside of you, your game will continue until you realize that the joy of love you feel is not something that someone else brings into you, but something that you yourself draw out from within yourself, by your own choice. You are love itself, and there will always be times when you are not unconditional love. You just forget. You are perfect just as you are. If you understand that the stalemate is just a passing phase in your evolution, you will be able to accept it with excitement, and you will simply look forward to the next phenomenon. At first, you will only be happy when you are together, and when you are apart, your heart will ache with loneliness. However, after the peak, your heart will change from being happy only if she is by your side to being happy wherever she is, and will become more open-minded and happy. The conditions that were necessary for happiness will disappear. In other words, you will evolve into love without conditions. But people interpret this as a decrease in love. They start to fantasize that he has become colder recently, or that he may have fallen in love with someone else. In this way, people will plunder themselves into confusion by giving themselves meanings. And it is difficult to notice this paradox. Such reactions sink deep into the subconscious before you know it, and you are now reacting unconsciously and unconditionally, forgetting that you even had a choice to give meaning to them. Even if the person who used to call you every day now calls you once every 3 days, you don't need to give it any meaning, just notice it. Humans are essentially observers, not doers. A sudden phone call should bring more joy than a phone call that came yesterday and the day before. If you simply try to notice what is happening, you will realize that deep joy is not only found at the peak of emotions, but that any position is joy, and your mind, which was a puppet of the situation, outside world, will eventually shift to a position where you can create reality as a creator. You are now free to do whatever you want. The peak of enlightenment is not a peak mountain or valley, but a neutral place. Those who realize this will no longer have their minds go up or down, but will always be in the same position. That is the position of nirvana. Humans are born from the unconditional love of their mothers. Mothers do not place conditions on their children. They simply bless the birth of their children, no matter what kind of child they are. They accept their children unconditionally, no matter how ugly they are. They rejoice in their birth from the bottom of their hearts. However, the mother's limited consciousness eventually bestows limited wisdom on the body. The child, which is nothing, unconditionally receives this limited wisdom, and the child's limited consciousness is formed. This is the completion of the physical human being. And so the game of awakening your ego to unconditional love has begun. Unconditional love is a pleasant sound. So why do people attach conditions to love? For those who perceive themselves as limited beings, the words unconditional love may seem far-fetched. You are infinite. Believing this is the challenge. It is certainly not easy, but it is precisely because it is difficult that this journey is so worthwhile. It is not the opposite sex that we should seek. What we should truly seek is our source. It seems that the opposite sex exists to help us realize this. When we integrate the opposite sex within and seek our greater self, we are reminded of unconditional love. When we come into contact with the unconditional love within, we begin to unconditionally accept the reality that exists now. We realize that the way things are now is the best. We realize that everything we hear, see, and feel has only been good. There can be no problems for you like that. Relax and enjoy what happens as it happens. You no longer feel the need to manipulate people or reality. You surrender. It may sound paradoxical, but at this point, you take the shortest route in evolution and begin to ascend.